Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and today we're going to be taking a look at a little deck that literally compelled me to buy it. This is called the Shamanic Healing Oracle Cards by Michelle A. Motuzas, M-O-T-U-Z-A-S. Apologize if I am saying that incorrectly. I stumbled on, this is a Schiffer Publishing deck. Yes, it's Schiffer Publishing, 44 cards and a guidebook. Includes emotions, energies, and diverse situation one encounters on a path to energetic self-awareness. It cost, if you at retail, I know you can get it for cheaper on Amazon. It costs $24.99. I believe it's like $17 on Amazon. And it says, explore your spiritual and human existence within the bounds of natural imagery and look into the energies, fears, and wrong beliefs that are holding you back from having the best life possible. So via shamanism studies, these 44 beautifully drawn oracle cards will help you learn the importance of symbolism in the human psyche. Discover for yourself and others the energies surrounding situations in life that can hinder or assist you along your path of self-awareness and healing. So I really like that because it does, right on the box itself, talk about different situations that you might encounter, things that might help you, things that might hinder you, and it has a very heavily connotation to energy. Now, I will say that the actual imagery didn't really draw me in because it's very simple. I would say somebody talked about it looking primal, primitive, but not in that negative connotation, but in that sense of very basic, almost like maybe what you would see on cave walls, although it doesn't look like cave paintings, but it's that kind of simple, but uses repeating symbology so that you can see where those might connect. And when you have cards laid out, are you seeing some of these symbols repeat and things like that? I do apologize for any noises that you might hear. There is a lot of work going on in the apartments. I have tried to wait for a clear space. It just isn't happening. So I'm going to move forward. The air conditioning is also on, but it is way too hot to turn it off. So I do apologize if any of those things keep you from enjoying the experience. I would suggest watching a different video today. But so anyways, so I saw this and I was like, no, I'm not going to get this because it was on Barnes & Noble's. I don't buy things on Barnes & Noble's without a coupon. I really didn't have the money because I've been putting my extra money towards art supplies. I thought, nope, I'm not going to do it. But I felt compelled to get this deck. Not an I want this deck, but I need this deck, which doesn't truthfully happen very often. Normally I buy decks because I want them, let's just be honest. So I went home, I walked away from it, I was good, I made the decision not to. I dreamt about the cards, a couple of the cards. I went home and looked at the cards all the way through. I still felt very powerfully drawn to it. I liked the images, but it, just in terms of very, very simplistic style, but, it just didn't appeal to me, like, imagery-wise. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, these are such stunning images, I have to buy it, which is usually what happens to me. Went to bed last night, or no, 2 nights ago, and dreamt about this deck, which I don't, again, very rarely, 2 or 3 occasions that I can even think of that I ever dreamt of tarot cards or oracle cards. And then I woke up the next morning and I said, I really need those cards. But I said to myself again, no, you don't have a coupon, and you don't have, you don't have the money to put into a deck right now. You bought art supplies. Be good. So I would literally, within 30 seconds of saying that, I got a ding on my phone from Barnes & Noble saying, hey, by the way, you didn't use your coupon this month. Here's a coupon. Don't forget. And then within 60 seconds of that, my phone cha-chings when I get a reading come through, and a reading came through, and so I said, okay, universe, fine. I apparently need to have these cards. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And now I need to make sure I turn off my phone so that on top of banging noises and air conditioning noises, we don't also have phone noises. Okay, so it comes in, it's Schiffer. Schiffer has nice boxes. It comes in this nice, like, little magnetic closing box. And it's, you know, it's a nice sturdy oracle box. I have never had a complaint about Schiffer's boxes. I quite like them. The book that comes with it is bound really nicely. It's got a nice cover. It has color images in it. We'll look at those in a second. It has the color images in it. Not a ton about each of the cards, but I think plenty, because for me, Oracle is often much more about your intuition anyways. So it comes with that, and then it comes with the 44 cards, which are gilded. Now, I will say this has the typical Schiffer lamination that I do not like. Literally, if I have the light on that's right above my head here, it is too glary. I can't even hardly see the cards. So they're very laminated. Let me zoom in here a little bit more. And you can already see, the gilding is there, which I like. But you can already see at the corners of some of these, you'll see better when I lay them out, where kind of the lamination is a little bit peeling up. And I've only, you know, shuffled these twice. Now, I do rifle shuffle, and truthfully with this deck, I probably won't. I don't mind my gilding to get worn. That I actually like the worn gilded look of rifle shuffling with gilding. I won't do that because I just put them all back in order. But it does, because it's such a nice size, it's really easy to overhand shuffle, but that can get the edges of lamination as well. So, you know, that's just part of a Schiffer thing. You know, Mary L was like that. Actually, I had better luck after I trimmed the Mary L. I've not had any of this problem with my trimmed Mary L. So, you know, I could eventually trim this down even smaller if they get really nasty looking. But that's just Schiffer. They have this high gloss laminate, and it does tend to be peely. But I just kind of accept that, I suppose, which we shouldn't, right? We should complain about it, but then also, you know, it's still worth it for the deck. Oops, I don't know why I'm doing that. There you saw the first one. Let's take a look. Again, nice box. Love Schiffer boxes. Love magnetic closures. You know, it's just really nice. Size-wise, okay, I don't have good things to compare. This is a Margaret Peterson Tarot, which is the size of a Blue Angel Oracle. So this is a smaller Oracle deck, right? You know, for an Oracle deck, this is quite small. Let me get something a little more standard size. Here is a Llewellyn. So it's the exact height as a Llewellyn tarot. It's just wider. It's hard to tell because on this backing, this is black. But the edge goes out to here. Here we go. So you can see it's a little bit wider, but the same size as a Llewellyn tarot. So it's a handy size to shuffle and do larger spreads, I suppose. Let me make sure I put that to back. Yeah. So that's the sizing. Cardstock wise, it's thinner than it's not thick like the Mary L. I actually like the thickness of the cardstock. I just don't like the lamination. So, but I will say, after shuffling it a bit, the stickiness does wear down, and it actually does shuffle fairly decently. So that just kind of comes with using it. So let's take a look here at the guidebook. So Shamanic Healing Oracle Cards by Michelle A. Matuzas, Schiffer. Very nicely bound, you know, nice detail. It has a dedication. It has a quote here by Benjamin Spock. Trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. Trust what you know. So then it goes into, you know, a preface talking about shamanism, but she talks about how in regards to this deck of oracle cards, shamanism is regarded as endeavoring to connect with the energy of all living things. To do this, we must first recognize that everything is energy. Every thought, action, person, animal, and place is energy. They hold different vibrations, but it is still all energy. Energy vibrates at different speeds or vibrations. The vibrations of an energy can be the difference between a dog or a chair. We hear a lot about the law of attraction, like attracting like, energy attracts equal energy. Different energy patterns exist in our lives. So it goes on about when you feel sad, things feel heavy. When you're in the first stages of love, you feel like you're light as air. She says, as someone who has studied shamanism and the workings of energy, I try to keep my vibrations high. I know this assists me in attracting the best possible path and the highest lessons to myself. Does this mean I won't suffer, get angry, or have bad things happen to me? No. So she goes on and talks about how the symbols and images have originated through many of her own personal life experiences, but also borrow from universal symbols harking back to early man and cave drawings. I spent quite a few years in the Pacific Northwest. While there, I became enamored with the art of the native tribes. The graphic nature and strong symbolism really spoke to me. She does talk about having a humanities agers, and they were all art history or ancient culture images, and that these things would kind of repeat themselves. She also seems to do, I looked on her website, and for actual readings, she will, as someone asks, she draws. So she draws out her readings like to somebody, and then kind of brings those in as like the reading is her drawing or channeled drawing, so to speak. So that's quite interesting there. And then of course it talks how to use the cards, lay the cards, scanning them, looking for repeated symbols, reading the cards, layouts, the single card, the typical 3 card, and then there is a nice 5 card here that has the relevant past, the energy now, hidden issues, possible action, and the most likely outcome. I've kind of modified this a little bit and used it a few times with this deck, and I quite like it. So I will show you that at the end of looking at the cards. She said there are a few things I would like to note about reading with the Shamanic Healing cards. Unlike tarot cards, there are no reversal meanings. These cards are a bit more straightforward. The clearer you are with your question, the clearer the cards will be. It does say that if you get a jumper to set that aside, in her opinion. Obviously, we can all do what we want. So at the end of the day, we all have free choice. Again, it talks about obviously your reading is, you still have free choice. And then it goes into the meanings, which each card has 2 pages. So on the right is a color representation of the card, which I really appreciate in case I want to lay in bed and read through this. I don't have to have the cards with me. I really like that. It has the number, which again I really like because I will be using geomancy sticks with this because I feel like strongly any of my kind of shamanic studies and things like that I use very strongly associated for me with geomancy, and so I really appreciate now more than ever oracle decks that do have the numbers on them because of that reason. So I appreciate that. So we have the number, the title, and then a description of the card. So for example, I do like to read it so you can tell how the tone is. So there's the first card. This is called Movement into Balance. The sun balances the moon just as the earth, the water, and the sky remain in precious balance. So you are moving from unbalanced ideas and lifestyles into a more balanced way of being. A situation may call for some tweaking to adjust it into a balanced mode. Look at the energy and emotions you are putting out into the universe, your world, your relationships, or goals. Balance that with the energy you are allowing yourself to receive. The body inherently tries to maintain a state of balance, so do our souls. If you are not receiving enough, you may be unconsciously giving more to restore a perceived balanced state. Step out of that automatic response and listen to your guides and your soul for what this situation truly warrants. I really like that because it reminds me of a card that keeps showing up for me and others of late with the Margaret Peterson tarot deck, which is my favorite deck of the moment. Let me see, here it is. I can find it so quickly. Which is the 6 of coins, but for the Margaret Peterson, it's that your feet are grounded and taking in energy, and your hands are on the ground giving energy. And this card in this deck is about making sure that that energy exchange is balanced. And so that very much speaks to what she was just writing there. So that made me think of that. So there's an example of how the guidebook sounds. So yeah, it goes through, of course, all of the 44 cards and then has a conclusion. My hope for all of you is for a greater awareness of the magnitude and perfection of your soul. Your journey is a sacred one. Embrace it and make it memorable. I wish that you would all find that place deep inside that strengthens your ability to be the heroes of your own story. I just love that. So yeah, I was really drawn to just the language of the understanding of energy flow, and all that kind of connectiveness. So that's what really appealed to me with this deck. But let's take a look at the cards, because obviously that's the star of the show. This is the back. It says Shamanic Healing Oracle. I'm not overly fond of decks that have the names or words on the backs, but this is, you know, beautifully done. It's not at all anything to complain about. I'll take it over copyright, that's for sure. Okay, so here's, we have the number, the first card that we just read. So we can, I love that we have the Triskel here. That's an important symbol to me. We see the sun and the moon repeat itself. We see these water drops, so the idea of water repeating. We have these sort of leaves around, and so these images start to, because I've done a few readings with this, they start to connect to each other, and when you're scanning, she recommends that you pay attention to those repeating symbols. But you can see that the artwork is sort of that very primitive style. Like she said, she was very influenced by cave painting style painting, you know, style art, where we're kind of getting a message across. So the color tones and things are very repeating as well. You can see that there is a thin gold border around the actual image. We have sort of a gold motif here, and then we have the card number and title at the bottom of the image. So I think that's quite lovely. Again, because of the lamination, there's quite a bit of reflection. You know, I really wish that they had done these. It would have been stunning on a matte stock because of the darkness, you know, the black, there's so much black that's in the imagery. So I wish they would rethink that, but what are you going to do? So number 2, we have New Beginnings. And so again, we can see the water drops, but they're coming from above now. Water, emotion, energy, all life-affirming and life-giving. Patience is the key, is a kind of a little quick. It talks about, you know, having a deluge of emotion, so that rain that's coming down, but once that passes, then there's something new is going to begin. So it does talk about sitting with the emotion. It gives you suggestions like sit with the emotion, cry, journal, talk with a friend, but then let it go. It talks about a ritual you can do, writing on paper, then through water or fire, letting that experience go. So it actually, she also gives you actual actions to do. So I like that as well. Oops. Here we have Slow but Steady. We can see the turtle. We have this interesting motif, which I think we see in other places as well. But it again talks about not rushing situations, that sometimes divine timing and our timing isn't the same, and that when you try to speed things up very often, you don't make things better. She also talks throughout the book a lot about labels and a dual mindset where things are good or bad. And she really recommends, like in this case, taking the word best and worst away so that we aren't attaching our own kind of ideologies onto situations and instead letting it be. There is a very Buddhist, Zen, Taoistic feeling to some of the writing that I quite resonate with, because that's part of my mindset. I really like this one. Past, present, and future. I love the 3 birds. We see these little birds, black birds, throughout the deck, again as a repeating motif. And it talks about how, again, not labeling things as bad, that it really talks a lot throughout the book about labels. And so letting go of labels and judgments that surround the past, present, and future, and simply seeing how those things integrate and interact with each other as energies. Here we have psychic development, number 5. So the energy and healing work you're doing is going to heighten your sensitivities. It talks about having discernment. It can also be, because it's actually about development, it can be a suggestion to take classes, workshops, read books. So again, she gives like esoteric as well as practical as well as action-oriented advice within the paragraph or two of text. So that's helpful. So here the next card is actually discernment. So as you're developing your psychicness and your abilities, then you should have practiced discernment. It says, as spiritual, physical, and energetic beings, we oftentimes blur the lines between our energy, the energy of a situation, and the energy of another person. When we take on another person's energy and label it as our own, we start to judge. This lowers our energetic vibrations. And then we get caught up in seemingly never-ending cycles of feeling bad, labeling, justifying, and appropriating what is not ours to claim. And it goes on. Again, goes on to give you both practical advice as well as some ways of sitting with it and kind of figuring things out. You know, your first responses, don't label it as bad. You say, okay, that's interesting that I responded that way, and kind of look at it, but don't like judge ourselves and kind of instantly put sort of bad energy onto things, but to kind of take a step back so we can be more discerning. Here we have a reunion of souls, so we can see two birds that are coming. We see this motif with these different symbols here at the top. That is also something that will appear in more than one card. I haven't sat and really looked closely at the symbols to see. It just talks about how that people come in and out of our lives to teach us something. It could be painful, it could be challenging, it could be love, but they may, and very moving, but it could also end abruptly. And so we have to keep moving on, cherish the lessons, and move forward. But this can actually be a relationship like between lovers, friends, parents, children, a gift, a reunion of souls in that way. But it does also have that connotations of the way that people are coming in and out of our lives to teach us things. But this symbology up here, I'm going to have to take a closer look at, because we do see this repeat itself in a couple other cards, I believe. We'll see. I haven't gone through these one by one yet. The next card that we have here is the Death card. And so here we have a very simplistic, almost childlike, you know, unbalanced. The horns aren't even balanced with each other. That sticks out to me. But this is just about endings. Endings always signify beginnings. As in the New Beginning card, this card urges you to let go, and let go gracefully, not be attached to emotions and the energy of what is ending. Feel it, experience it, but then let it go. It can also be, and it does talk about how this is just an ending card, like the coffin and the Lenormand. It can be the end of something that, you know, is sad, but it can also be the end of something that needs, you know, that you're happy to see ended. So it's attaching not any good or bad to the idea of endings, but just understanding death as a cycle. Number 9, we have perception. And it talks about how with energy, sometimes a slight shift in perception is all that's needed. Remember that nature strives to retain balance. It is only our perception and labels that cause us to think otherwise. And so it asks us to look at, is there something that we're looking at in our life that is, we're looking at a very rigid perception, and it's wanting us to kind of change. Even a simple sidestep over can help us to see something from a different perspective, to try to, again, always in that nature of maintaining and regaining balance. Here we have burden. We have this little ant who is trying to carry heavy leaves here. It talks about taking on the stresses as for those that we love, taking on other people's burdens. But that sometimes we're taking it on and we're denying those people the ability to learn from their own experience. So you have to make sure that you're not taking somebody's lesson from them. Yeah, it's quite interesting. But I think there's many ways that you could read this, just in terms of almost like Ten of Wandsy energy as well. The 11 is a new day. Lets us see a brand new light, see things more clearly. We released the duality of a sex. Again, she talks about duality a lot. And once we release this, it's able to transform into something else. I don't know what this is, because almost at first I thought it was a dragonfly, although the body doesn't really look like a dragonfly. But I do kind of think of that as that transformative from water into air, kind of transformative energy there, which is quite lovely. Here we have the eagle for truth. It says kind of pulling yourself up and out of the muck lets you get a better viewpoint to see truth. I like this one a lot. This is the abundance card. So we have what looks like I Ching coins with some bamboo shoots and some water here. And it talks about abundance in all forms: material, friendships, health, emotions, experiences. And that when you lock ourselves, when she says that when we lock ourselves into a narrow view of what is abundance, let's say abundance just means money, that we are really kind of solidifying ourselves in to a very narrow viewpoint instead of expanding that viewpoint out to understand that we have abundance in many different ways than just financially. Number 14 is teaching. Of course, it's just things that we need to teach, the way that we can encourage other people, that all of us are learning and teaching constantly when we keep our vibration, our energy is high. And that sometimes we're just planting seeds and we're not necessarily seeing those grow into the tree, but that doesn't mean that eventually they're not going to be the tree. You may not be there to see that, but that you're planting seeds. When you keep the energy that you're putting out to other people at a high vibration, you are actually, putting growth out there into the world, putting all those seeds out there to grow into something amazing. So I think that's fantastic. Honoring your energy, number 15. It says that we have those days when we're disinclined to do anything we feel like we should be doing. If we don't do it, we feel guilty. And it says that your body has rhythms just as everything else on this earth does. Flowers, trees, plants, the elements, the tides ebb and flow, the sun and the moon rise and set, animals hibernate, flowers grow, bloom, and go dormant, and so on and so forth. And that sometimes we need to not be our own harshest critic, and we need to move within those energy flows, be aware of our energy flows and work within them. So that, again, I just love the energy connotations here. So then we have two cards for the masculine and the feminine energy. So we have the sun as for the masculine, which is fairly traditional, and then we have the feminine energy here as the we see this. I'm sure there's a name for this, but I don't want to. You see this a lot for the female energy. So we have expressions of the male and the female energy, which I think are beautifully done. Here we have It's All Good. It says that every experience in your lifetime has a potential to be a teaching tool. And so sometimes when we don't feel like we have any control over things, looking for the silver lining, you can kind of see these silver streaks through here. And so we are going to learn something from all experience. Now, this is kind of a hard card, I think, to have it thrown in your face if you're in the middle of something difficult, but that doesn't mean that you can't learn something from it, right? Here we have another tree card of unlimited possibilities, where before, though, the focus was seeing all those seeds and the little tiny plants that were coming from the seeds. This is in full bloom with all sort of the flowers in the tree and falling down from the tree. And so we know that after winter, spring will return, followed by the bounty of summer. It's that way in your life as well. At any given time, there are unlimited possibilities for you and yours, many different paths to take, many different options available, and not to get bogged down into a linear thinking. It's cyclical. Life is cyclical. And so you can see this going around it, but we have all these opportunities here on this tree, which I quite love. Here we have healing energy with the hand on the back. We do see also a hand on the backing of the card. This one guides you to work with energy on a healing level. It says when you're living in a vibration of healing, you're not just affecting yourself, but others as well. This can also signify healing is taking place within whatever the situation that you might be drawing the card for. Number 21 is sacred space. So this is, makes sense. Finding a space to have a sacred spot for you, a place for you to be alone. It can be a shelf, it can be a corner. She gives, ideas of how to do that, but that it's important to have a sacred space for yourself, no matter how small. Transformation, we can see this kind of a symbol repeat. This is almost like a sun and the moon symbol here. We have the caterpillar, of course, which is going to transform itself. We even have a tree that's losing its leaves, so we again see that cyclical aspect of life. After this rain comes the sun, after the caterpillar comes the butterfly. There is this cycle here, and so to be aware of that all the time within what you're living, your energy. I love this for forgiveness because this is interesting. We have, let's see, do we already see the one card that seems similar but reversed? Looking real quick, maybe not. But I love this because we have either the sun is reflecting, it's the moon reflecting in water, we're seeing the sun, which I think is quite interesting here. But it's about forgiveness is the greatest gift that we can give ourselves. Forgiveness of others, but also forgiveness of self. We are the most critical and judgmental of ourselves. So it talks about this sort of inner critic here, and that we are human, and that we need the idea of human perfection is actually about imperfection. So this card is telling us there's some nature of forgiveness for ourselves or others that needs to take place in a situation. So here's some more. We have lots of symbols here. We have the Triskel here. We have the sun here. We have some animals here. We've got all these different things. I really like this here. This is called Ascension. This is about following a spiritual path. That they think about ascension as an ultimate goal. However, it's also talking about ascension is the actual process of living consciously. That we are, ascension isn't a goal, it's a journey. It's what we're on, it's what we're all doing. And for situational, it does say that the situation you are inquiring about is assisting you on this ladder. Work at looking at the bigger picture, seeing how this may be a part of a bigger pattern. Here we have sexual energy. This definitely looks like a cave painting here. In the pure sense, sexual energy is not an energy to be expanded from you. It is a state to reside in. It says the first and second chakras are the root of our sexual feelings. When you use this very potent energy to manipulate people and situations, you do yourself a huge disservice. That you can take that energy and push it upward and use it in other ways. This card is asking you to look at where sexual energy, or just that high passions, where are we putting our strong energy, our passionate energy, where are we putting that into it? That's kind of how I read that. Make sure we're using that passionate drive, that fire energy. Are we using that in a good way? Here we have, again, the idea of duality. Here we have the blackbird, but one is colored white. Black and white, good and evil, yes and no, up and down, want, don't want. She goes on and explains that idea of dual thinking. And if you took those kinds of dual thinkings out of the way, that there is a lot less attachment to a situation. You could stay higher in energy, and you've got to deal with the situation a lot better. So this is actually meant to be a reminder to kind of step away from dual nature of labeling the situation and actually really figure out how to work your way through it. Stripping illusions talks about the lotus flower, which I love. But this is saying you are being called to strip away illusion after illusion from your life. You're kind of opening up the petals of the flower. So it says it's difficult to do, that we tend to hold on to illusions, but this card is telling you to look your truth in the face and not let illusion cloud your view. So That's pretty powerful. Anger, we have this kind of wasp here, a very strong and primal emotion. Anger catches us by surprise, or it's in there, you know, boiling all the time. It talks about anger as being based in fear of loss of control, fear of not being loved, fear of being judged, fear of not being enough. When anger enters into your lives, it says to go underneath and try to address the real fear that has triggered it. It alternately says beware of somebody else's anger that might be being focused on you if this card comes up. 29 is about changes. It's that idea of the rippling, you know, one little drop and it spirals outward. The smallest of changes can bring about the greatest rewards. This could be a message that big changes are coming your way, or also to remember that, you know, these little changes that you're making can build into something bigger. Here we have divine timing, that we often want things to be now, and this is talking about, we get this card, it says don't fight the timing. Things are going as they should go and kind of unfolding naturally or at a level in which you may not fully understand. Patience card. Nobody likes patience cards. So instead of calling it patience, they've called it divine timing. Here we have omens. It talks about hawks being messengers. They're bringing messengers back and forth from the realms of spirit. And this talks about focus and intuition, paying attention to coincidences because they might actually have meaning and messages for you. Struggle. We got this in the live chat. So this is about, you know, struggle is part of life. And so, you know, you have to continue to move forward, and that you can, you're going to learn something from the lesson. I also see a lot about perseverance in this card. So yeah, whoops, sorry. So that's what we have there. A salmon jumping up stream is what I'm assuming we're seeing. Here we have integration. Says that we are the sum of all our experiences. It's telling you to find a quiet moment in your day to identify and start a relationship with the small voice inside of you. That we don't listen to our inner voice. That's interesting. You don't realize that your inner voice is warning you that the other person's energy is not matching their words. Listen to your instincts. So we have the snake here under the surface. Poor snakes. They get so much bad juju, don't they? But this is, I wonder why, though, they didn't call integration something different. Because, let me see if I can see why they would pick that word. But it's really about listening to your inner voice, that we don't necessarily, the person that we're dealing with may not be what it seems, or that we simply aren't listening to our inner voice. So that's kind of an interesting word to use, keyword to use for it. It just talks about messages from media, society, family, friends, strangers can drown out who we are really meant to be, and to start listening to ourselves and paying attention to when people are speaking to us, they may not be speaking truth. Ancient wisdom here. We have just kind of out in the trees, right? Get out in nature and listen to what she has to say to you. In a nutshell. I know I'm taking way longer than I should on these. 35 is inner journey. Not all who wander are lost, it says. That sometimes we're so consumed with our own personal journey that we project that onto other people's journeys. So it says don't judge another person's journey. Respect where they are and meet everybody you come in contact with where they are on the path. They're not going to be, we all have our own leg of this journey, right? We shouldn't be trying to pull them to where you are, but meet them where they are. And it says by doing this, you expose people to your own vibration, and it's a great gift for both parties when you meet somebody where they are, kind of meeting it in the middle here, I guess. This is quite a lovely card called Grounding. Our bodies are of the earth, it says, but so much of our modern lives kind of pull us away from the earth, and so that we may need to It says you're being asked to look at areas in your life where you may be employing false grounding as a coping mechanism, and we need to figure those ways in which you can really get back in touch with the earth. Emotional release, that sometimes it's okay to cry, to let loose our emotions, that sometimes it bubbles up and that we need to release that, and it sometimes takes us by surprise. So it says get into the habit of voicing your feelings, even if just to yourself. Journal, create, dance, find places that you can have a release of those emotions that's safe to you. Growth, the situation is our time is one of rapid growth, it says. So we had the patience card. This is more, this is more rapid growth, and it says if you're not feeling it right now, get prepared because it's coming. Here we have creativity. We can see the waters of creativity spilling out. This would be a profound, creative time. It can also signify the birth of a child or a whole new way of being. So there's just a lot of creative energy that's overflowing here. Here we have retreat. It's time to step back. This would be the Four of Swords, where it is time to step back and kind of get your ducks in a row, it says. That there are changes coming ahead, and so you need that moment to kind of step back and figure things out and get kind of set for things as they're going to be happening. Here we have the self-love card, number 41. That we think high of other people, but we don't with ourselves. And it said to be aware of the small, insidious voice that perhaps repeats the negative self-assessment you had as a child, or an ex-friend, or an ex-lover, and we've kind of incorporated these into ourselves, and that we have to fix those things, because it's only in loving ourselves that we're going to be able to actually love somebody else fully. Number 42 is joy. It talks about that we're created in joy. The balance of energy and higher vibrations bring us closer to divine love or pure joy. There is love, growth, tears, change, and self-realization in this card. It portends a happy and joyous time. Sort of the sun card. It's the happy card. It's everything's going to work out. Letting go of a person or situation can be a challenge. So this is about relationships and letting go of relationships. It says to start and really paying attention to your expectations, because that's what's going to let you live in the moment and be able to gracefully release from a situation is a good lesson to learn. And then the last card, number 44, is home. This card represents a homecoming of the soul, finding your tribe, coming home. The situation you're inquiring about has a potential to be a homecoming, a safe place, a secure place. All paths leads to home. And it talks about how it doesn't have to be where you grew up. It doesn't have to be family that you're born into. That to look outside of those meanings. That families are people who share the same core values and path. Home can be a place that you haven't visited yet. Or this can also just be your safe place. So that's quite lovely of an ending. I love this. This is a traditional symbol that you'll see. Is this the same symbol? It's not exactly the same symbol. I thought it was the same as on the Tarot of the She. So there we have it. All of the cards. You can see very highly in touch with looking at energy, looking at our vibration, where we are at, looking at healing of ourselves and of others. I think that the guidebook does a really good job of explaining the cards for the most part. I really do like how she is both explaining the cards, then giving sort of, again, practical advice, actual actions to take, as well as the more kind of esoteric or, higher vibration-y kind of message as well. So I think that that makes this quite a deck that you can use. You can see from the meanings, this could be very, very practical to the, kind of divination, fortune-telling sense, but also very healing and deep. So I feel like this has a lot of practical and deep level meanings that are inherently built in, not to mention all of the things that you intuitively can take away. So this, I'm going to pull some cards. I'm going to do a 5 card. For this, I guess I'll do it exactly how they have it in the book, because I do try to do one of the actual readings from a book. So this is a 5 card reading that I'm going to do, and this is for somebody who is in a really difficult situation, both emotionally but also just kind of in life. Just a lot of things that are happening that feel very overwhelming, and just sort of needing to get their energy, back into balance. So I think these cards would actually be really good for that. So I just want to see what cards would come up for that. So this is going to be 5 cards. I'll just lay them out in a row this time, although I've been doing this a little bit differently. Definitely still a little bit sticky. So here we have, the first position is the relevant past, the current energies. The third card is hidden issues that might be impacting the situation. That's so far very accurate to the situation. Possible action to take for the highest outcome. And then the last one is the most likely outcome, which is joy. So that's lovely to see for this person. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more so you can see all the cards. So, how I would interpret this, just, obviously I'm not going to give any personal information away, but I just wanted to see how they would. I've actually done a few readings with these, and I really, really like the way they read. So here we have the relevant past, and we have definitely issues with self-love, issues with that idea of being our worst enemy, and that if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of other people. This person definitely needs to learn that idea of self-care, but it also is the recent past in which she's actually making some of those changes to have more self-care. And so I think that it's good to see that that is relevant, that may be actually helping the situation, because she's already starting to make those changes to raise her vibration, to take care of herself, to stop, beating herself up so much. So I think that's very relevant to come into being. Current energies is this integration card. This is the only card that I'm not overly fond of the actual number or the name of the title, because I feel like it should have been something else, given what the meaning is. But this was the one that was about really listening to their inner self, and to understand that the situation may not be what it appears. The person that you may be dealing with may not be what it appears, but even what you're saying about yourself could, but you're really needing to listen to your own messages and filter out the others' messages. And this is definitely relevant, because there was a lot of discussion about peer pressure, even as adults, that we have peer pressure where we really let other people's views of what we should be doing or how we should be doing really have a powerful impact on how we see the situation. And we're not actually seeing things as they are. We're seeing these through the filter of how we think other people think we should be seeing the situation. And so it starts to get very murky. And so I think this card really works. I guess it's that idea of needing to integrate our own voice and disintegrate the voices of others. So this is actually quite relevant. In the third position, which is, I think, underlying issues. Let me go back to the card. Hidden issues affecting the situation is the idea of just patience, and this is really, really true. We had a long conversation about this, where there are some things in which you've done everything that it is that you can do, and now you simply have to wait, and that's really difficult, right? That's really difficult. But then in the action to take, so right now there isn't anything to do. We have to simply wait. That the timing isn't always now. It isn't always where we want it to be, but it is what it is. And we have to simply do the best, everything that we can do, that we need to have done, and then we have to take our hands off. And that's very relevant. But the suggested action is to make your sacred space. So if you've already done everything you can do, and now you're in that waiting period, which is so difficult, then, you know, the suggested action here is to kind of go into your sacred space. Working this into your daily routine, finding the space to sit and be for a few minutes every day, this can make a really big difference on your vibration and on how miserable you're going to be while you're waiting. So I think that's really good practical advice, and especially for this particular person. You know what? So it's just just making a little space and making the time to actually sit in that space every day while waiting. So yeah, I think that's really fantastic. And then obviously, possible outcome of this is joy. It's moving in the direction of joy. You've made all the choices and decisions, put everything into motion what you can, and so if you can just get your way through this, you're moving into a really good space. It's just going to take some time. So yeah, that's let's see if they called this anything. No, it's just a 5-card layout that is put into the book. And I think this was actually, as I said, I've done a few readings with this last night and today, and I'm really happy with it. So I think the universe did a good thing in passing this on to me, or having me get this, because I feel like this is something I could really work with. Okay, I want to do a quick geomancy figure. This is the outcome, so I'm going to use these 4 because you only use 4 with geomancy. So I'm going to use these 4. Typically, I would lay them this way if I was intending to work with geomancy, but I'm going to go in the order that I laid them in. So 41 is an odd number, so that would be single dot. 33 is an odd number. 30 is an even number. And 21 is an odd number. So our geomancy figure then, let me move these up. Our geomancy figure, and I'm going to have to zoom out. There we go. Sorry about that. The geomancy figure for this would be prayer, which is the energy of a boy. You can see the energy rising upwards here. You can also, it's actually quite a passionate and moving. Things are moving. Things are not stagnant, even though it may feel like it because we're in that patience mode. There is things in process. It's passionate energy, but it's like if you think about young boys, they're very energetic, but it isn't always very stable energy. So there is a need to kind of restabilize with this energy because there's a lot of stuff that's going on. There's a lot of energy that's going about, but it's not, but we have that sense of moving upward, but things need to sort of restabilize. I think that call for the sacred space is actually really important one to kind of recenter the energy. That also can connect with this idea of things maybe not being what they seem. There's just too much energy jumping around, and so we need to kind of restable things down, and that again, I think that the suggestion there for spending concrete time with sacred space is going to be a really good one to just bring the energy back into balance while you wait things out. So that's how I would use the geomancy. That's why I like there to be the numbers there. And I actually quite like the small size because they can be read a little bit more in larger spreads because of the size of them. So yeah, I'm really happy with these little cards in just a little bit short time that I have used them, but I'm really impressed with how they seem to read both practical as well as more kind of spiritual and that kind of thing, and I like that combination of the two. I don't think that the mundane or the practical needs to be separated off from the spiritual, and that's the energy I get with these cards, that it's all part and parcel of the same thing. So I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I wish you a very lovely day.